How's everybody doing? This is Ruben once again with Philosophy. I want to thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Like a comment on the video, it would be greatly appreciated. Now today I want to talk about success and the truth about success and what you visually see. So you see a super successful person, and you see them shine, you see them have success, and to you look at yourself and you know you're trying, and you're like, well, what the heck is going on? I'm not getting anywhere here. Well, that's what I want to talk about. Now, success in life can come in a couple of ways. And for the most part, the super successful people that you see, the super successful people, the ones you see on TV, the ones you see on the magazines, the ones, in these private jets, whatever. For the most part, most of them, and they say this all the time. They always say this when they're being interviewed, when they're being, when they're talking, they say, you're born with it. And they say that, you're born with it. A lot of these people are born with it. And they say this over and over again in their interviews, when they're being interviewed in a magazine, on TV, wherever. They say that they always tell them, hey, so you know what? You've been successful for this amount of time. What is the secret? And they say it. They say it over and over and over again. You have to be born with it. Some people just have it. Some people just don't. They say that over and over again. Some people just have it. Some people just don't. And another thing they always say is, a lot of people, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know were in the same place I was in, had the same opportunity, but they did not they gave up. They were miserably uncomfortable. They were content. They didn't have the hunger. You hear them say that over and over and over again in their interviews. And that is very true. That is very true. Many of these people, you have to understand that they are born with a certain frequency. They are born with a certain frequency. Some people have it, some people don't. We hear that you were born this way. So for them, they experience the same sort of challenges, if not even more. But their inner self is not as, how can I say it? Not as closed in. They experience the same challenges, but their frequency, the way they were born, they don't they don't feel about the challenge the same way as you do, or many people do, and they don't respond to it in the same way. You see what I'm saying? You hear this in religion a lot. And this goes like this. God has a plan for you. God has a plan for you. We hear that over and over and over and over and over again. God has a plan for you. And that's true. And the truth is that You're born with a certain DNA frequency. Your DNA, it's at a certain frequency. Some are born with a frequency for fame. And this frequency in their DNA, it's in their DNA, and it's vibrating 24/7, 7 days of the week, non-stop. It's vibrating out into the universe, out into God. It's praying. In other words, it's praying out to God 24/7 without them even thinking about it. It's who they are. And they're born with that frequency. And this is how many child celebrities, this is how they become celebrities. They attract that into themselves. They were born with that frequency. Other people have a frequency for money. They have a frequency for money. It's in their DNA. By the way the stars are aligned, the way God made them, that is the frequency. Other people have a frequency for business. They could see certain things, how to negotiate, how to read people, how to do mathematical equations real quick, whatever. Everybody's born with different frequencies. And many of the frequencies that you see the super successful people have is many have a frequency for money, many have a high frequency for fame, many have a high frequency for business, and so forth. The majority, I would say 99.9% of all these people, of the super successful, are already born that way. And to be quite honest, they automatically just go after that. Their struggle is not as much as a person who was not born with that frequency and has to physically do it. Now, you watching this video, you were born with a certain frequency. Everybody is born with a gift. Everybody's born with a gift. What is that gift for you? Everybody's born with it. Everybody has a talent. Right? Now, there's a difference between your DNA frequency and your brain wiring. Okay, so let me specify that, because people are going to have this confused. There's a difference between your DNA frequency that you're born with and your brain wiring. Some people are brain wired for business, as I mentioned. That's why I brought this up, because I want people getting confused. Some people are just brain wired for business. They know how to do business. This is why many people who for example, good example, many people start up a restaurant, and I think the statistics is 60%, 80%, high percentage. You're going to close down that restaurant. That restaurant is going to fail. 60-80% of people who build a business, it's just going to fail. The majority of the reason why that happens is because people go into that business, start that restaurant, and they're not brainwired for business. They may be brainwired for the work, right? Maybe it's some sort of technology company, and the person is real brainwired for computers, and they see numbers and everything, but negotiation, business, getting all these forms together, knowing exactly how, they're not built for that. They're not brain wired for that. And they go into the business thinking they have what it takes, they have everything they need, and then it fails. And they're like, well, I had a great idea. Well, I don't know why it failed. Well, that's the reason. So those of you who are thinking about building a business, think about that. Look at yourself. We all know ourselves. We know what we're good at. Ask yourself, like, are you really good at business? If you're not, if you determine that you're not, then you might consider bringing somebody in who is brain wired for business to handle your business. You might, take a percentage cut to pay this person and keep all the operations going for this person, but you won't lose your business. You see what I'm saying? A good example is I'm a big fan of boxing. I love boxing. So I follow boxing since I was a kid. And, you know, many of you know Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya, he was a boxer, a world titleist, you know, great boxer, right? In the 90s to the early 2000s, right? Great boxer, but considered one of the best, if not the best, Mexican American boxers of all time. So he started a boxing promotion company. And when I started getting into this piece of knowledge that I'm sharing with you, that's one thing I noticed about him, that he is the owner of the business, but he has a CEO, he has a spokesperson, and so forth. Like you would see in conferences and everything, the person comes up and here's the CEO, and here's the CFO, and so on. And then at the end, it says the owner, Oscar De La Hoya. Right there, and to this day, he's created great boxing matches that have done really well. He was Mayweather's promoter, partner promoter for many years, and they created great ventures. But you see what I mean? Like, he's the boxer. He knows the boxing. He knows how to pick the boxer. He knows how to choose the boxer and which fight to give him or to really make him consider. But he doesn't know the business. He needs somebody to take care of it. But you see a lot of businesses who they start a business, they start a corporation, and they put themselves as the CEO, or they start running the business and they become the CEO, they become the president, they become everything, and they're not brainwired that way. And when they get a little bit success, suddenly you see the drop. They get bits of some success and then they drop. You see that happen over and over again. So brain wiring is different, and that's another discussion. Right now, I want to talk about the DNA frequency. So everybody has a DNA, and everybody's DNA vibrates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without exception. And what this frequency is made of, it mainly comes from your parents, from your lineage. This is why, if your family history has a history of diabetes, most likely you are going to have most likely you are going to have to keep an extra eye out on your health as far as diabetes. Doctors tell you that. Cancer, the same thing. Being a football player, if your dad, your grandpa were football players, most likely you're going to become a football player, or at least you're going to be really inclined to do really well. Musician, artist, whatever. Most of your frequency, your frequency comes from that, from your lineage. So, and with every generation, it, quote, gets better. With every generation, it quote, gets better. That's what happens. With every single generation, it gets better. Sometimes it doesn't, but for the most part, it does. Because no matter what that DNA frequency is, you always have a choice. You have free will. You know, the story in the Bible says that God planted a garden, right? And with all these trees. And there was one tree that God told Adam and Eve not to eat of, and that was the tree of good and evil. And he told them, you can eat out of any tree freely except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And many people say, well, you know, if God is God and God really exists and He's all knowing, and why would He plant a tree of a good and evil? When he knew that they could have ate from it, why He didn't just not plant it, right? Well, if He would have done that, where's the free will? If everything was just free, everything was just good, like perfect, like where's the free will? Where's the power that you have of making a choice, of making a difference in your life? Right? Where's that power? You don't have no power. You're a slave. God didn't want you to be a slave. He wanted you to have free choice at all times. So the DNA frequency comes from your parents and their parents and so on. Whatever your DNA frequency is, you, nobody else but you, have the power to change it.